So in this session, I'm going to talk about strategies for feeling good if you have ME/CFS. Feel free to tell me where you are in the world. It's always nice to know. Leslie says hello. So as I say, in this session, we're going to talk about strategies for feeling good that work. Joe says thumbs up. Thank you for letting me know loud and clear. Excellent. So I read a synopsis of a book by Kelly McGonigal recently, and I found it quite interesting reading. It was talking about the fact that humans tend to do strategies for feeling good, feeling happy, feeling relaxed, that actually don't help us feel good. Some strategies are kind of based on the promise of rewards and excitement, and so actually we release dopamine, but that doesn't actually soothe us. We think they'll make us happy and relaxed, but they don't, according to Kelly McGonigal, who I think is a psychologist. The American Psychological Association says that there are some strategies that do actually work. So it's really useful to know what strategies don't work, what strategies do work. But to start off, just want to ask you a question, which is, if you are trying to reduce your stress levels, you want to feel more happiness, more calm, more relaxed, what are the things that you think you might be doing with that goal in mind that might not be hitting the mark? So put your comment in the chat, and there's no kind of shaming or anything. You know, we all do things. You know, I know for me, when I want to feel good, one of my go-to strategies in the past is to go for excitement, and I might go online chatting and visiting certain websites that probably shouldn't be visiting. And, you know, it actually doesn't help me ultimately feel good. I would just drain myself because I'd be getting excited when my energy was low. So Leslie says doing too much stuff. Okay, what else? Other people, feel free to comment. If you just joined, let me know where you are. Say hello if you want. So let's see if any more comments come through. Eating too much chocolate. Yeah, I can relate to that. I didn't eat chocolate for about 12 years when I had ME, and when someone bought me some very nice chocolate with hazelnuts from Paris, and I just couldn't stop eating it. What sort of chocolate, Joe? I'm very interested to know. So yeah, pop your comment in the chat. What are the things you do in an attempt to feel good, but actually you know they don't work? Kirsty says chasing self-help ideas. Interesting. Yeah, and I think that's probably something that people with ME/CFS do a lot. Colleen says I can relate to looking for social excitement. And that's really interesting. We'll come back to that point, because I think there's a difference between the kind of social buzz, social excitement, and social connection. We can get a bit of both. So vegging out on social media, says Colleen. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. So I want to be clear, it doesn't mean those things are bad or wrong. There's, you know, shaming isn't helpful. We might choose to still do those things at times. But it's important to consider how often we do them and for how long. When I rediscovered chocolate, I literally was, you know, binging. I was just about to speak to a client and actually ate some chocolate. And I was meeting someone in the park, and I bought one of the chocolate bars, and I said, look, you've got to help me eat this because I'm binging on it. And then I did find equilibrium where I just kind of was happy to have a square or two after my evening meal. And at the moment, I haven't really been eating chocolate. So what do you think? I'll write down some of the strategies according to Kelly McGonigal that are not helpful. Let me just grab my pen. But have a guess. What do you think? Pop your message, your thoughts in the chat. So some of the things that are less helpful. And you may think, oh, people with ME/CFS don't do these things, but actually some of them do. So the first thing is gambling. Okay. Shopping, and feel free to comment if you recognise you do some of these things. I must admit, I do kind of like the novelty of buying stuff on Amazon, and could spend my time doing that. I managed to restrain myself. But yeah, just comment if you recognise, oh yeah, that's something I do. Joe mentioned eating chocolate, and eating in general can be a kind of way that people attempt to feel good. Leslie says shopping or window shopping online. Okay. Eating, drinking. So that might be alcohol. Smoking, another one. Video games. I've worked with a number of people. They're often males and tend to be in their teens or 20s who recognise they're spending too much time playing video games. I remember working with someone who had ME/CFS, was wondering why he wasn't getting well, and he was literally spending 8-9 hours each day on video games. And I said, you're effectively spending the same amount of time that you would if you were doing a full-time job. So Doris says, but isn't eating, enjoying food a wonderful thing? Yeah. So what we're talking about here is eating to feel good. Okay. Now it's fine to get pleasure from eating, but it is, as I mentioned just earlier, it's about having that balance of, for instance, if someone, when they're upset, their strategy is to reach for food, and the type of food they eat is not very nutritious, then that can become problematical. But yeah, I love my food. I really enjoy eating, but I eat in moderation, rather than, and I don't use it as a strategy for feeling good. Okay, so yeah, so that was the next thing I was going to say, is social media. The internet in general, texting, Facebook, Leslie says, yeah, so all of that, okay. And interestingly, so surfing the net, it's amazing how much time we can spend on, just browsing, finding different sites, going here, there, and everywhere. And interestingly, the other thing that was mentioned was watching TV and movies for more than 2 hours. So that, again, so it's about finding the balance. I remember I was telling some people doing my group training about this a while back. I think in February, possibly this year, a series came out on Netflix that I really like. The next season, and I spent too much time. I literally spent a day and a half binge watching this series until I'd finished it, which was a ridiculous way of spending my time. So Doris says, researching too much on ME/CFS. Interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. And that's something that often people say, that they're doing too much of that. Okay. And TV, that's very tiring and visually tiring. Yeah. Dr. Sarah Myhill says that actually, our kind of visual apparatus can use up lots of energy, and watching TV with lots of moving images and stuff, actually can be depleting. Certainly when I had ME/CFS, there were times when I couldn't even look at a screen, and I knew that when I was tired, when I was able to look at a computer, look at a screen, there were times where I chose not to do that, and I would just listen to the radio, because I just didn't have, it was using up more energy, and I'd feel noticeably more tired if I did consume TV or look at my computer when my energy was very low. So Colin says the challenge for me is figuring out what I can do while I'm sitting down resting. Okay, so let's maybe explore what some of those strategies are that are more useful. But actually, if we just, before we do that, if we just look at that list, if you were just to tot up how many of those things you do, 1 point for each, feel free to just put up a number in. Oh, hang on. Sorry, let me go back to the iPad. So if you were just to tot up, if you gave yourself 1 point for each thing, how many points would you get? So this is, just to be clear, going back to Doris's point, using these things as a strategy for feeling good because you're not feeling good. You know, so obviously we all need to eat, and it's fine if you feel good when you're enjoying your food, okay? But what I'm talking about here is kind of using it as a strategy to feel good rather than, getting enjoyment. So we've got a 2, we've got another 2. And if you want, kind of say what your go-to ones you might have said already. So got a 1 and we've got a 6. So far, 6 is our highest score. So well done you. All right. Now let's look at some strategies that are more useful. Now, Kelly McGonigal says that our brains work. Sorry, hang on. Let me just go back to here. So Kelly McGonigal tells us how our brain works and what's going on when we seek out those different strategies and why some of them work, some of them don't. She says the main difference between the strategies that work and the strategies that they don't is that rather than releasing dopamine and relying on the promise of reward, you know, for instance, think about gambling. There's that kind of reward you get when you win, and obviously you get stressed when you lose. The real stress relievers boost mood-enhancing chemicals like serotonin, GABA, as well as the feel-good hormone oxytocin. So I think Colin might have mentioned the social connection thing. We release oxytocin. Oxytocin is known as the love hormone, and it gets released when we're kind of connected, feeling connected to others. So these good hormones actually help shut down the brain's stress response, reduces the stress hormones in the body, and induce the healing relaxation response. Because they aren't exciting like the dopamine releasers, we tend to underestimate how good they'll make us feel, she says. And so we forget about these strategies, not because they don't work, but because when we're stressed, our brain persistently mispredict what will make us happy. And that means we'll talk ourselves out of doing the very thing that can actually help us feel better. So let's think about what those things are. And consider as I'm talking about these that some of the tips may not be relevant to you at the moment. Bear in mind that some people with ME/CFS, fibromyalgia, long COVID might not be able to do some of these things, but some people can. So use your judgment, focus on what you can do, and do any of these things in a way that's appropriate to your situation. So any guesses what things might be more beneficial and have those beneficial effects? Pop your thoughts in the chat. I'll give you a moment to do that. I know there's a bit of a gap between me speaking and you replying, so I'll give you a moment, but have a guess. No shame if you don't get what I've got. those things might still be valid. What would you guess? Things that are actually going to have those beneficial effects. All right, I'll go to my iPad and start sharing, but feel free to comment. So, it includes reading. Obviously, I guess it depends what you're reading. If you're reading some scary horror thing, that might not have the same effect. Listening to music, particularly music that is relaxing or uplifting. So Colleen said meditation, yoga, stretching, sitting in nature, listening to relaxing music. And Leslie says mindfulness. So yeah, you've talked about an audiobook. So you've mentioned some of the things that I was going to mention. Okay. Spending time with family and friends. Obviously, family, that is actually something that is enjoyable. It's not the case, sadly, for everybody. Getting a massage. Might be receiving a massage for someone else, or actually just giving yourself a massage. Giving yourself a hand massage or foot massage if you've got the flexibility. Okay, so other things that have been mentioned is meditation, and this is one thing that I've talked about. This has cropped up a number of times, that some people kind of say, meditation doesn't work for me, and actually what becomes clear is they're putting themselves under stress, because when their mind wanders, they think they're doing it wrong or they're not doing it right. But actually, a wandering mind is normal, and meditation is just the practice of noting, my mind has wandered, and I can just bring myself back to the breath. So Kirsty says hot bath. Yeah, that's something I like doing. Other things, so let's add that to, it's that kind of those self-nurturing things. So hot bath is an example of that. Someone mentioned yoga, and I'd add things like qigong and tai chi, that they can be relaxing if you can do those things, and you don't have to do much. I've talked about this before, that when I had Emmy, I do qigong for literally a minute. Okay, if anyone doesn't know what tai chi is, it's a gentle movement practice which you do very slowly, and that can really help calm the mind and body, because you're just focusing on the movement. Doing a hobby, creative hobby, just engaging yourself in that. She also mentions praying or attending a religious service. And I would add to that, it might be just going to an interesting talk. I went to a talk recently related to the viral issue, and it was very nice. It was interesting just to hear a professor of one of the top universities sharing his thoughts. It was interesting interacting with the people there. If you can, obviously, going for a walk, or even just going outside. Someone mentioned, being in nature. And again, if you can do it, the degree to which you can, exercise. Okay, so let's have a look at the comments. Joe says, I'm going to get myself a box of healthy treats to eat instead of chocolate. Yeah, that's a good strategy. And Colin says, the challenge for me is that the self-nurturing activities require action. Yeah, there's, maybe say a bit more about that if you want, Colleen. What's an example of a self-nurturing activity? And is it that you haven't got the energy to take the action? But consider, for instance, if you are able, if I just go back through the chat, if you're able to do certain activities like, be online or whatever, Is it possible you could listen to an audiobook, which is less stimulating than looking at a screen? So just be interesting to know a bit more about your kind of current limitations. Okay, all right. So yeah, so just consider, okay, based on what I'm saying, is that feasible? If you haven't got the energy to do certain things like yoga or qigong, for instance, could you do qigong for just a minute if you know what that is? If not, you can go online and have a quick look. But you can just do literally, I would do simple movement for a minute. And actually, maybe one thing I've got in my mind is to do a little video of just showing you some of the qigong movements I do. I'm not a qigong teacher, so I'm not, claiming to be an expert, but I can just show you. If that would be useful, let me know, because as I say, I would literally do these things for just 1 minute. So what I'd ask you is, what from what I've said can you do? So yeah, so Kirsty says breath work like box breathing. Yeah, so this is just to let you know, I did 2 videos on strategies for stimulating the vagus nerve, which are on my Facebook page and also my YouTube channel. So check those out, because I talk about some of that breath work, box breathing, breathing in 4, breathing out 7. There's variations of that, okay? And Colleen introduced me to left nostril breathing. So Leslie says, yes, please. I'd love to see a minute of Qigong to see it. Okay, so maybe that's what I'll do next, because it has been something on my mind to do. So let's just pause there. I'd be interested to know what is one exchange that you could do. So Jo says that instead of eating chocolate, she's going to explore healthy treats. Let us know how you get on with that, Jo, and what you find. When I did go through a kind of craving stage, having not eaten anything sweet for ages, I actually Googled keto treats, and you can make some keto sweet treats, which are pretty healthy depending on what you use as a sweetener. Okay, so Liz says that was so interesting. You are welcome. I say, if you want to just comment what your exchange is going to be, what's one thing you're gonna, let me just go back to the iPad so you can have a look. What's one thing that you could stop doing, one thing you could start doing. Okay, Jo says cheers. You are welcome. So have a look, leave a comment. If you have found this video helpful, do share with others. If you've got any questions, comments, if you'd like to know more about the work I do, just get in touch. But for now, I'll say thanks for watching. If you'd like to end with a very quick relaxation, let me know, and we'll do that. Colin says, I've created a relaxation music playlist on Spotify that I listen to. Fantastic. If you want to share the link to that, I think you can share your playlist. Then, do that, Colin. I'd be interested to have a listen. Leslie says, shopping for massage. Kirsty, I'm trying to stop looking on my phone and instead write affirmations. Yeah, and this is a challenge I've been setting myself, because there are times when I kind of can, in between breaks, instead of having a proper break from my work, I'll look at my phone. So I've really been trying, especially today, to just not do that so much and have proper breaks. I went and sat out in the garden after doing a group coaching call. Yes, please, to the relaxation. I love watching TV and YouTube, but I limit the time. Yeah, so that's great. So it is about getting that balance. Remember that over 2 hours, it can start to be counterproductive. Okay, let's end with a brief relaxation. So what I'd like you to do is to close your eyes. Obviously, only if it's safe to close your eyes. Maybe I'll just put the music back on. Just pop that on. Let me know if it's too loud or not. So as I said, I'd like you just to close your eyes, only if it's safe to do so. And Colleen's just shared the link to her Spotify, so check that out if you like. Thank you, Colleen. So, just ensure that you are comfortable, whether you're sitting, lying down, and just bring your awareness to your surroundings. Just have a sense of the colours, the shapes, the textures, the objects. And now just bring your awareness to any sounds that you hear, other than the sound of my voice, other than the sound of the background music. There may be sounds close by or sounds in the distance. You can just let any sounds that you don't need to pay attention to wash over you. I'd like you just to become aware of your body, the position of your body, the position of your hands and arms, feet and legs. The contact between your body and the surfaces touching your body. I'd like you to consider that you can tune in to your body and consider that sometimes we focus on what we want, and actually sometimes it's useful to just ask the question, what do I really need right now? So if I recognise I'm feeling a bit fed up, and I might reach for some stimulation and excitement online, or I might reach for chocolate, and I ask that question, what do I need right now? I might identify that I need a hug, or I need to have some human connection. And I might brainstorm some ways of getting that. There have been times when I've decided to actually go and have a massage instead of doing those depleting behaviours. Or just sit outside, or go for a little walk, or just do some really gentle movement. Might be that I just make a phone call or make an arrangement to meet someone. And you can be creative in finding strategies that work for you based on what's manageable. I'd like you just to consider that the more we just practice pausing, breathing, identifying, labelling what it is we're feeling, the sensation, the emotion. I recognise, I'm feeling sad right now. I might choose just to experience that sensation if that feels reasonable. Or I might choose to just do a grounding meditation, similar to what we did at the start of this relaxation, focusing on the things I see, the sounds I hear, the physical sensations of my body. And I might do that for just a short while. And if I go and do some of those behaviours that are not so helpful, that's okay, because I just paused, created a bit of a gap, and with practice those gaps might get longer, might get bigger, and the impulse to do that old behaviour may lessen. I'd like you just to consider you are creative, you are resourceful, you have the ability to find new strategies and new solutions. So if you want to carry on resting, just allow yourself to do that. If you're ready, you can just come back, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes and let me know how you found that brief relaxation. But for now, I'll just say thanks for watching. It's more interesting when I have a bit of feedback, so I appreciate your turning up. And if you're watching the replay, you can just say hi and let me know you're watching the replay. But for now, I'll say thanks for watching and bye for now. Wishing you great health. Colleen says, I love pausing. Thank you, Simon. You are welcome. And Leslie says, helpful and calming. I've been in bed asleep all day. Doris says, great as always. Thank you, everybody. You are most welcome. Bye for now.